First-time caller line, you're on the air with Derrel Sims. Hi.
Hi, Art. Mr. Sims?
Yes.
Yes, my name is Todd. I'm calling from Fort Hood, Texas. You probably know where that is.
I sure do.
Okay. I'm assigned to an organization called INSCOM. Do you know what that means?
What is it?
Intelligence and Security Command?
Yes.
Used to be the old Army Security Agency?
Yes.
I'm what they call a 98 kilo, if you know what that means.
Okay.
And basically my job, without going into a lot of detail, is we listen to everything.
Yes.
And this event, the question is, have you ever encountered any of this when you were on active duty?
I did not encounter anything directly. What I did do while I was in the Central Intelligence Agency was investigate several UFO events that occurred, and I found out some other information indirectly that I want to get permission to be able to publish it.
Good luck.
Because I think that it will tie into it, but I didn't have direct contact myself.
I do appreciate you answering my question, sir. The event I wanted to relate to you, again, I can't corroborate any of this. It's happened in '88. I was assigned to a unit in Lebanon doing what we do out there. And we were tracking, basically watching the Israelis and the Syrians play their games up around 15,000 feet.
Yes.
And there was a couple of Syrian MiG-21s that were tracking an object that their GCI had ordered them to intercept. And one of the pilots evidently got lost. He turned back. Evidently the flight leader, the more experienced pilot, closed with the target. And I was hearing this secondhand because my specialty is Morse code.
Yes, of course.
Arabic linguist was what kind of relaying this, half on, half off. And he got very agitated at the end. And it took us a while to, he had to work through the translation, but he started describing some type of cylindrical object.
Caller, can you hold on through the break?
Sure thing.
All right, stand by. Very interesting. Closed with what target? With what results? Back now to Derrel Sims. Derrel?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we've got this very interesting caller. Caller, you want to finish your story? I mean, here we've got something closing with a contact, some sort of cylindrical object. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Well, to cut through a lot of, make a long story short, this Syrian fighter pilot, evidently, he continued to close with this cylindrical object, and he kept describing it. And about 15 minutes after he got visual sighting, he asked permission to engage. Well, there was a lot of hemming and hawing between evidently the headquarters types. But eventually, about 15 minutes later, he's been pacing this thing the entire time. They gave him permission to engage, and he locked on. He got a solid radar lock with one of his missiles, and he released. And 3 seconds after that, he went OTA, which is off the air. I mean, his carrier was gone. I mean, he was out of there. Well, this is where it gets really interesting, because we were plotting where he was on our map, and he was not too far from where we were. So, being that this was broad daylight, by the way. This is like late in the afternoon.
Right.
Okay. So we were waiting for, see like a smoke plume for where this guy was coming down. And we heard, maybe not heard, but you ever feel shell fire or feel vibrations, something hitting very hard?
Oh, yes.
Very close?
Oh, yes.
We felt it. We didn't hear a thing. And we finally did see a smoke plume, which we figured was about 5 clicks away. So we figured, what the hey. We grabbed the Cut V, and we all piled in, leaving a few people behind to sit on the thermite charges for the equipment. And we rolled on over there, keeping an eye out, because, where we were isn't exactly, everybody was going to shoot at us, basically. So they call it a free fire zone. But we rolled over there, and we found what we thought he'd just been shot. So he fired, he got in an engagement, and he was shot down. Mm-hmm. We got closer to the wreckage, and we noticed a lot of odd things, which the main thing was nothing nothing was twisted. The plane had evidently, the smoke we'd seen was from the fuel igniting. It's very difficult to describe. It was like somebody parks the plane and then took it apart bit by bit, and then threw the bits and pieces everywhere. They weren't burned. It wasn't a plane wreck. It wasn't like he hit the ground.
It's like it was taken apart in the air
and then put on the ground. And what we'd seen from the smoke plume was the fuel igniting, because the fuel tanks were exposed.
Right.
And there was JP4 everywhere. And it doesn't take a whole lot for that stuff to go off.
Sure.
And there was exposed electrical equipment, and evidently something had sparked, and that had set the fuel ablaze.
Sure, understandable.
And we found the pilot. And he was Syrian Army officer. He was a major. And he was basically it was like he was asleep. He hadn't punched out. He was not in his chair. He was laying on his back. I mean, he was like he just got out of the plane, laid down, and then he died. I mean, he was dead. This, we
no
kind of
damage to the body.
There was not. It was like I said, it's like he got out, parked the plane, took it apart, and then laid down and died. We couldn't find anything wrong with him. I mean, we took all the we did our job. We took all the the material that we could take.
Sure.
As far as incidentals like books or anything, you know what I'm talking about.
Sure, of course.
But this weirded us out to a very large effect. And
well, listen, I appreciate the story.
Yeah, and
one hell of a story. Thank you.
I'd never told you. You have this amazing. I've been listening to you about 6 months, and I've been going like, this is pretty wild. And then I didn't expect to get through tonight. And right now I'm. See, as Mr. Sims will aware, you have a fan club, Art, and many organizations with alphabet soup in their names.
I appreciate it, sir. Thank you. Pretty wild story, Derrel.
Yes, we had a situation in which literally 200 conscripts of the Iranian army on the second day of the Iran-Iraq War were all abducted at the same time. Now, these are all professional people, doctors, lawyers, they're all officers. The amazing thing about it is 9 UFOs came over on the second day of the Iran-Iraq War, and they thought that what those things up there were some secret objects that we had sold the Iraqis to use against them. So they started firing our Hawk missiles at them, and were not able to hit them.
Good God.
And shortly after that, they abducted all 200 people present. Absolutely amazing case. We're still following it. We have a Iranian general that is confirming some information. I have a case with him I'm working on. He was a major during the time of the Shah of Iran, and he reports, based on interviews that Dr. Lear and I have done with him, that he may have had missing time during the time he was actually trailing a UFO in his airplane.